In the late 19th century, as the world emerged from the age of candlelight into the dawn of a new era, two titans of invention waged a war. It was a war fought not with armies or cannons, but with volts and amperes, with patents and propaganda. On one side stood Thomas Edison, the wizard of Menlo Park, an American icon and a master of practical invention. On the other, Nikola Tesla, a brilliant, visionary Serbian immigrant, a man who saw electricity not just as a utility, but as a cosmic force. At stake was not just their professional rivalry, but the very future of how humanity would be powered. This is the story of the War of Currents, the epic feud between two geniuses that determined who would illuminate the modern world. The 1880s were a time of breathtaking change in America. The nation was hurtling into the industrial age, and at the heart of this revolution was one man, Thomas Alva Edison. He was more than an inventor. He was a phenomenon, a national hero. His laboratory at Menlo Park, New Jersey, was a veritable invention factory, churning out wonders like the phonograph, and most importantly, a commercially viable incandescent light bulb. To power his new invention, Edison devised a system based on direct current, or DC. DC was simple and reliable. It flowed in one direction, like water through a pipe. In 1882, he achieved a monumental feat, lighting up a small section of Manhattan with his Pearl Street station. For the first time in history, a city block glowed with a steady, magical electric light. It was a triumph, and DC electricity, controlled and owned by Edison, seemed destined to power the nation. Into this world of Edison's dominance came a young man with a mind unlike any other. His name was Nikola Tesla. A brilliant Serbian engineer, Tesla arrived in America in 1884 with little more than 4 cents in his pocket, a book of his own poetry, and a letter of introduction to the great Thomas Edison himself. He was immediately hired. Edison, the practical, trial-and-error inventor, was at first impressed by the young man's theoretical genius. Tesla could solve complex engineering problems in his head, visualizing entire machines with photographic clarity before ever drawing a diagram. But their partnership was doomed from the start. They were polar opposites. Edison, the shrewd businessman, focused on marketable products, and Tesla, the pure visionary, obsessed with grand world-changing ideas. The breaking point came over the very nature of electricity. While Edison was expanding his short-range, inefficient DC system, Tesla presented him with a revolutionary idea: alternating current, or AC. AC electricity could change direction, alternate, rapidly, allowing it to be stepped up to incredibly high voltages. This meant it could be transmitted over vast distances with very little power loss, something DC could never do. Tesla's AC system was not just an improvement, it was a quantum leap forward. He tried to explain to Edison that AC was the future, but Edison, whose entire empire was built on DC patents, refused to listen. He dismissed AC as dangerous, impractical, and a deadly current. Their clash of ideas was about to become a war. The final straw for Tesla came in the form of a broken promise. Edison, dismissive of Tesla's genius, offered him a staggering $50,000, over $1 million today, if he could dramatically improve the efficiency of Edison's DC dynamos. Tesla worked tirelessly for months and presented a brilliant solution that far exceeded Edison's expectations. When Tesla went to claim his reward, Edison simply laughed. "Tesla," he said, "you don't understand our American humor." Betrayed and disgusted, Tesla resigned immediately. For the next year, he was forced into a life of poverty, at one point even digging ditches for $2 a day to survive. The man whose mind contained the secrets to lighting the world was reduced to manual labor, his dreams seemingly crushed. But genius cannot be suppressed for long. His brilliance was eventually recognized by a group of investors who gave him his own laboratory. In his own space, free from Edison's constraints, Tesla's creativity exploded. He quickly developed and patented all the components of his revolutionary AC system: the generator, the transformers, and most importantly, the AC induction motor, a masterpiece of engineering that is still used in countless devices today. His work caught the eye of the one man in America who could truly challenge Thomas Edison, George Westinghouse. Westinghouse was a wealthy industrialist and a brilliant inventor in his own right, having made his fortune with the invention of the pneumatic air brake for railways. Unlike Edison, Westinghouse was a visionary who immediately understood the immense superiority of Tesla's AC system. In 1888, Westinghouse made Tesla a life-changing offer. He bought the patents for Tesla's AC system for a handsome sum, and more importantly, offered him a generous royalty for every horsepower of electricity sold. He brought Tesla to Pittsburgh to work as a consultant, and together they began the ambitious task of building an electrical empire based on alternating current. The battle lines were now drawn. On one side was the Edison camp, championing the established, safe DC. On the other was the Westinghouse camp, promoting the revolutionary, efficient, and dangerous AC. It was not just a corporate rivalry, it was a public war for the hearts and minds of the American people. And Thomas Edison, the master of public relations, was about to unleash a vicious and terrifying propaganda campaign to destroy AC's reputation forever. Thomas Edison, facing the first real threat to his electrical empire, did not compete on scientific merit. Instead, he chose to fight a war of fear. His goal was simple and brutal: to convince the public that Westinghouse's alternating current was a deadly, uncontrollable force, a public menace that had no place in their homes. He began a vicious smear campaign, publicly referring to AC as the death current. Edison and his agents staged a series of horrifying public demonstrations. They would travel from town to town, gathering crowds. In front of horrified onlookers, including reporters, they would take stray dogs and cats, place them on a metal plate, and then electrocute them with high-voltage AC from a Westinghouse generator. They wanted the public to associate the name Westinghouse with death. The campaign grew even more macabre. Edison secretly funded the development of the first electric chair, insisting that it be powered by alternating current. His motive was sinister. When the state of New York performed its first gruesome execution using the chair, he wanted the newspapers to report that the condemned man had been Westinghoused. He was attempting to turn his rival's name into a synonym for execution. This brutal propaganda put Westinghouse in a terrible position. He was losing the public relations war, and his company was bleeding money. Investors were getting scared. To make matters worse, a group of powerful financiers, including the legendary J.P. Morgan, were trying to force a merger between the Edison and Westinghouse companies, which would have stripped Westinghouse of control and likely killed the AC project forever. In the midst of this chaos, Nikola Tesla, the visionary, decided to fight back not with fear, but with spectacle and science. He was a natural showman in his own right. In a series of now legendary demonstrations in New York and at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, Tesla performed a feat that seemed like magic. He would stand on a stage, surrounded by his inventions. Then, with a dramatic flair, he would allow hundreds of thousands of volts of high-frequency alternating current to flow through his own body. The electricity would arc from his fingertips, yet he stood completely unharmed, holding glowing wireless light bulbs in his hands. He was demonstrating a profound scientific principle about high-frequency currents and the skin effect. But to the audience, it was a miracle. He was showing the world that AC, when understood and controlled, was not a monster to be feared, but a force of nature that could be tamed. The Wizard of Menlo Park had met his match in the magician of a new electrical age.
The ultimate battleground for the War of Currents was the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, also known as the World's Columbian Exposition. It was the most spectacular international event of the era, a grand celebration of the 400th anniversary of Columbus's arrival in the New World. The fair was designed to be a gleaming white city, a breathtaking vision of the future, and the most crucial element of this vision was light. A fierce bidding war erupted to win the contract to illuminate the entire fair. It was a winner-take-all showdown between Edison's DC and the Westinghouse Tesla AC system. Edison, backed by the powerful financier J.P. Morgan, who now controlled his company, submitted a high bid, confident that his reputation would secure him the contract. But George Westinghouse, a master strategist, played a brilliant gambit. He submitted a bid that was drastically lower than Edison's, promising to light the fair for nearly half the cost. He was betting his entire company on this project. The fair's committee, despite the negative propaganda against AC, could not ignore the massive cost savings. In a stunning upset, the contract was awarded to Westinghouse and Nikola Tesla. Edison was furious. In a final vindictive act, he refused to allow Westinghouse to use his patented light bulbs. This could have been a fatal blow, but Westinghouse was resourceful. His own team quickly designed a new, slightly different type of light bulb, avoiding Edison's patents, and they manufactured hundreds of thousands of them in a frantic race against time. On the opening night of the fair, May 1, 1893, President Grover Cleveland stood before a massive crowd. He pressed a golden telegraph key, and in that instant, the entire White City erupted in a brilliant, dazzling sea of electric light. Over 100,000 incandescent lamps, all powered by Nikola Tesla's AC system, illuminated the grand buildings, fountains, and lagoons. The sight was breathtaking, almost supernatural. It was the largest and most spectacular display of electric light the world had ever seen. The millions of visitors who came to the fair were mesmerized. They saw firsthand that AC was not a death current to be feared, but a powerful, reliable, and beautiful force. The Chicago World's Fair was an overwhelming victory for alternating current. The public relations war was over, and AC had won. Edison's fear campaign had failed. This triumph led to an even greater prize. The success at the fair convinced investors to back the most ambitious electrical engineering project ever attempted, harnessing the immense power of Niagara Falls to generate electricity. Once again, it was a battle between DC and AC. But after the stunning demonstration in Chicago, there was no contest. The contract was awarded to Westinghouse and Tesla. Nikola Tesla designed the massive AC hydroelectric power plant. In 1896, with the flip of a switch, the power of Niagara Falls was sent surging through transmission lines, lighting up the city of Buffalo, New York, over 20 miles away. This was the moment that truly marked the end of the war of currents. Nikola Tesla's childhood dream of harnessing the power of waterfalls had become a reality, and the AC system was now undeniably the future of the world. The war of currents was over. AC had triumphed, becoming the global standard for power generation and distribution, a victory that powers our world to this day. But for the two men at the center of it all, the end of the war brought vastly different fortunes. Thomas Edison, despite losing the war, remained a revered American icon and an immensely wealthy man. He gracefully accepted the reality of AC's superiority and even had his own factories converted to run on it. He continued to invent, accumulating over 1,000 patents in his lifetime, and his name became forever synonymous with American ingenuity and perseverance. He died in 1931, celebrated as one of the greatest inventors in history. Nikola Tesla's fate was far more tragic. To save Westinghouse's company from bankruptcy during a financial crisis, Tesla voluntarily tore up his royalty contract, an act of incredible generosity that cost him billions of dollars in future earnings. He was a brilliant inventor, but a terrible businessman. He continued to dream of even grander ideas: wireless transmission of energy, global communication systems, and even particle beam weapons. But without funding, his ideas remained largely confined to his magnificent mind. He spent the last decades of his life in relative obscurity, living in a series of New York hotels, his genius often dismissed as eccentricity. He died in 1943, alone and nearly penniless, in room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel, leaving behind a treasure trove of incredible, futuristic ideas. For decades, history largely remembered Edison, the practical man who built industries, while Tesla, the visionary who dreamed of a different future, faded into the background. But in the end, time has a way of revealing the truth. Today, Nikola Tesla is revered as the true father of the modern electrical age. His AC system is the backbone of our civilization. His induction motor powers our homes and factories. His name is on the world's most famous electric car.
The War of Currents was more than a battle of technologies. It was a clash of philosophies. Edison gave us the tools for the present. He gave us the light bulb. But Tesla gave us the vision for the future. He gave us the power grid that lights the world. In the end, humanity needed both: the wizard who could turn ideas into reality, and the visionary who could dream of a reality no one else could even imagine.
In the end, the War of Currents reminds us that history is often shaped by the clash of brilliant minds. We needed both the wizard and the visionary to build the world we live in today. If you believe these are the stories that need to be told, please help our channel grow by liking, sharing, and subscribing to American Lore. We'd love to hear from you. What other great rivalries in history should we explore next? Share your ideas in the comments. By joining the conversation, you help us uncover the next great story. Thank you for being a part of our journey.